Today I'm going to discuss with you how object pronouns work, first with examples in English so you can be sure you understand what's going on there, and then how we put object pronouns into a sentence in Spanish. An object pronoun is a word that replaces a noun after the verb. In English, the pronouns we use are me, you, him, her, or it, us, you, plural, understood, and them. It's not I, you, he, she, all right? Look at this example sentence. Do you have my book? Yes, I have it. That's your direct object. Give it to me, please. That would be giving the direct object to the indirect object, please. Do you have my book? As you can see, is the direct object. It is the pronoun, and the direct and indirect object pronouns in the sentence together. The direct object receives the verb's action directly, as in, I possess a thing, and that thing happens to be your book. And then if I want you to give it to me, then it is the thing that is given, and who benefits indirectly from it? Me. So how do you decide which object after a verb is the indirect and the direct object? These are the questions you ask to decide which noun or pronoun is the subject, direct, and indirect objects. I give my friend a book, so you figure out the verb, which you have to be able to do, or else this won't work at all. Give. So who gives? I give. That's the subject. Now you can ask, I give what? A book. Now typically the thing you give is going to be inanimate. You usually don't give a friend. You don't buy a baseball player unless you own a team, things of that nature. Whereas usually or frequently the indirect object is a person. So I give what? A book. To whom? To my friend, for example, in this sentence, and that person is the indirect object. So here are the object pronouns in Spanish. The direct object pronouns are me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, las. Let me hear you do it. There you go. And your indirect object pronouns are me, te, le, nos, os, les. Okay. Good. Now, English has no differentiation between third-person pronouns in direct and indirect objects. You can say things like, I have a puppy and I want to give it to my friend. You can say, I'm going to give him him. In Spanish, you can't. The object pronouns are differentiated, which is really very helpful for reasons that don't matter right now. So the word order of object pronouns is as follows. You have the subject plus an indirect object, pronoun plus a direct object pronoun, and then your verb. If you want to put the word no, it'll go before the object pronouns. Those have to be right up there with the verb, always. That's called the ID rule, indirect, direct. If you do it backwards, you get DI, and that's the die rule, and you don't want to die in grammar. I give you a book. I give it to you. All right? Yo te doy un libro. That's an indirect object, te. Te lo doy. I to you, it, give is the word order. You don't have to say it that way, but if it helps, whatever it takes. Word order part 2, if you have a compound verb where you have a conjugated verb plus an infinitive in the same clause, take a look at this. I want to give you a book. I want to give it to you. Subject, indirect object, pronoun plus direct object pronoun plus verb plus infinitive. Yo te lo quiero dar. Or you can take the object pronouns and attach them to the infinitive and make a new word. If you do that, you need to put an accent mark over the infinitive ending A, E, or I. All right. And what would grammar be without a complication? If your IOP, your indirect object pronoun, is le or les, and you have a direct object pronoun that starts with L, le or les turns into se. You would have this example: se lo doy, se la doy, se los doy, se las doy. Okay. And of course, we have to have a second issue. When the indirect object pronoun is le or les, you can't tell, and you can't tell in English either. If I say, I'm going to give money to him, you don't know who him is unless I point at somebody or say a name. And so here in Spanish, we're going to say le or les, and then we use an a expression. So, le doy dinero a Ana. Okay. You have to have that a expression for clarity. And the final big complication is as follows. If you have a sentence with an indirect object in it, you absolutely have to have the indirect object pronoun. It's a law of Spanish, even with an a expression. Okay, the a expression does not take the place of the pronoun. It enhances the pronoun. For example, le doy un libro a Ana. That's a great sentence. But if you say doy un libro a Ana because you're thinking I give a book to Ana is going to work, it's ungrammatical in Spanish. The pronoun has to be there. Le doy un libro may be unclear. May be because you might have asked me, what are you giving to Ana? Le doy un libro is perfectly fine. But if you don't have a context, then you need to say a Ana. In the sentence, te doy un libro a ti, the te already means to you. And we know who you are. So te doy un libro a ti, the a ti is redundant, and it almost sounds like you're overemphasizing. I'm giving a book to Ana, but I'm giving you a book. All right. So you want to avoid that level of emphasis. So now let's practice this a little bit. I'll give you some sentences, and I want you to take a moment. You can pause this and write what you think the response to the question is, and then we'll see what if your answer is correct or not. ¿Le das dinero a Pedro? Are you giving money to Pedro? So this is what you have to do in order to answer a question. You have to do it in microseconds, right? So, are you giving money to Pedro? First of all, you have to figure out that the subject of the response will be doy. I'm giving what? Dinero, replaced by lo. I'm giving money to whom? To le. Alright? So, le plus lo for money plus doy, and le, lo can't go together, so you have to remember to change the le to se, and then you need to clarify with a Pedro, and this is what you get. Si, se, lo, doy a Pedro. Te promete el profesor una A en español. Note that you have a question here, and the question has an inverted verb and subject. The verb is before the subject. El profesor is not an object, because if it were, it would have an a with it. All right? Te promete el profesor una A en español. So subject verb are going to be el profesor promete. Now, he's promising what? Una A en español. So it's going to be replaced by la. Te will be replaced by me, because you're answering a question. Does he promise you? Yes, he promises me. And the sentence is going to be si me la promete. Si el profesor me la promete. All right. And you don't say a mí because me is sufficient. Nos piden tarea los profesores. Do the professors ask us for homework? All right, so the subject verb of the answer, los profesores piden. They ask for what? Tarea, replaced by la. And do they ask us for homework? Now you have actually three possible responses. Do they ask us for homework? If you're part of the group and one of the students and you're being asked, you'd say yes, they ask us for homework. If you are like a TA and somebody says to you, are the professors asking us for homework? You could say yes, the professors are asking y'all for homework, and that could be either les for ustedes or os for vosotros. If it's les for ustedes, you would have les plus la, which means les has to change to se. Quite complicated. Lots of thinking to do in a very short time if you want to speak quickly. So here's your answer. Si nos la piden, or si se la piden, or si os la piden. All right. El policía les explica la ley a Ana y a Jorge. Couple of things going on here. For starters, the subject is at the beginning of this question, which is perfectly fine. Maybe a little less common than putting the subject after the verb. So the subject verb are el policía explica in your response. What is the police officer explaining? La ley, replaced by la. Les, replaced by se. Se, la, explica. Then you have to clarify a Ana y a Jorge. Note, please, that Ana gets an A and Jorge gets an A. I like to say that if you forget that everybody gets an A, you won't get an A because you'll make a lot of mistakes. El policía se la explica a Ana y a Jorge. That's what it looks like. ¿Puedo ofrecerte un té? Can I offer? The answer is you can offer. So puedes or puede ofrecer. Offer what? Un té. Lo. To whom? To me in the answer. Can I offer you a tea? Yes, you can offer me a tea. Si me lo puedes ofrecer. Si puedes ofrecérmelo, if you attach the pronouns to the end. And note the accent on the E of the ER. ¿Tu mamá les manda dinero a los pobres de África? Does your mom send money to the poor in Africa? So the answer is mama sends. It's not tu mamá anymore. Does your mom send money? Yes, my mom sends money. So mi mamá manda. She sends what? Dinero, replaced by lo. To whom? To them. And that's the pobres de África. So mi mamá, les plus lo becomes se lo. And this is the response. Si se lo manda a los pobres de África. Okay, and again, as in most of these cases, if you already have the people mentioned in the question, you can leave them out of your answer. But I tended to put them in just so you would see what it would look like with the a expression. El gobierno les presta a ustedes dinero para estudiar. Does the government lend what? Money, dinero, replaced by lo. To whom? To y'all. Yes, the government lends lo to us. Okay, dinero para estudiar is the direct object. You have to have all three words taken out. And les becomes nos in the response, so you don't have to worry about the se thing. Si nos lo presta, and you don't have to say a nosotros because nos is sufficient. And here's one. Los meseros os sirven ostras para la cena. All right, so are the servers serving? The answer will still be los meseros sirven. Serving what? Ostras. That's oysters. You don't need to know that. They're serving some kind of food, one thinks. Ostras are feminine plural. That would be a good guess, and you would be correct in this case. So that'll be replaced by las. Are they serving it to y'all? Yes, they're serving it to us. And your response, you'll have to watch out a little bit because ostras is the direct object. Para la cena is a prepositional phrase that is modifying ostras, but it's not really part of the direct object the way a color would be or a type of oyster. So the answer is si nos las sirven. If you had para la cena, that would be okay, but you can't have ostras. And here is one. Ofreces tu amistad. I didn't write the subject. It's tú. Tú ofreces. Are you offering your friendship to me? Yes, I offer. Yo ofrezco. What? Mi amistad. But we're replacing amistad, which is a feminine word, with the pronoun la. Are you offering it to me? Yes, I'm offering it to you. So, si te la ofrezco. ¿Tú ves ese pájaro? This is a tricky one. Let's see if you can do it. I'm just going to put the answer up and then talk about it. Let's see if you get it right. Pause, and here we go. Si lo veo. There's no indirect object here. Do you see what? That bird. To whom or for whom? No. So, do you see? Yes, I see. Veo. Do you see what? That bird. Replaced by lo. Si lo veo. So you have to watch out. You cannot just decide that every sentence is going to have two object pronouns. You might have only an indirect object, only a direct object. You might have neither, because if I say something like, I am going to Seattle, you can say, I am going what? Nothing. To whom? Nothing. You can say to Seattle, but you're not doing something to benefit Seattle. That is just the prepositional phrase to destination, right? So watch out for that kind of stuff. Be careful out there. And there it is. That's how object pronouns work. I hope you can make use of this information. Hasta la próxima vez.